Fading Light. Written and copyright by A. A. Castor. Welcome everyone to A. A. Castor Book Club. Today's story is Fading Light. Prepare yourselves for a heartrending journey through the life of a devoted husband grappling with the impending loss of his beloved wife to cancer. This poignant tale explores the depths of love, the weight of grief, and the strength required to hold a family together in the face of unimaginable sorrow. Brace yourselves for a narrative that delves into the profound pain of impending loss and the enduring bonds of family, leaving a lasting impression of the heartbreaking beauty and resilience of the human spirit. Chapter 1: The Diagnosis. John sat in the sterile hospital room, the smell of antiseptic lingering in the air, the beeping of monitors a constant reminder of their dire situation. His heart pounded in his chest as he held his wife, Lily's, hand. The doctor's words echoed in his mind. Stage 4 cancer. It's aggressive. He felt the world collapsing around him, but he couldn't afford to show his fear. He glanced at Lily, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and determination. "John," Lily whispered, her voice trembling. "We'll get through this together, right?" He forced a smile, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "Of course we will, Lily. We'll fight this." Their 10-year-old daughter, Sophie, sat in the corner of the room, drawing pictures to pass the time. The colorful crayons were a stark contrast to the bleakness of the hospital room. John's heart ached as he looked at her, knowing the pain she would soon have to face. He had to be strong for both of them. As the weeks went by, Lily's condition worsened. The chemotherapy took its toll, leaving her frail and exhausted. John did everything he could to keep their lives as normal as possible. He took on extra shifts at work, managed the household chores, and tried to shield Sophie from the harsh reality of her mother's illness. One evening, after putting Sophie to bed in her brightly decorated room filled with stuffed animals and fairy lights, John sat by Lily's side. She was resting, her breathing shallow and labored. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his heart breaking as he saw the pain etched in her features. "John, promise me you'll take care of Sophie," Lily said softly, opening her eyes to look at him. "I promise, Lily," he replied, his voice cracking. "I'll take care of her. You don't have to worry about anything." Lily smiled weakly, tears glistening in her eyes. "Thank you. I love you so much." "I love you too, Lily," John whispered, tears streaming down his face as he leaned in to kiss her forehead. The room felt colder, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Chapter 2: The Struggle. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Lily's condition continued to decline. The once vibrant woman he married was now a shadow of her former self, her skin pale and her body frail. John struggled to juggle work, taking care of Sophie, and being there for Lily. The weight of it all was crushing, but he refused to let it show. He needed to be strong, for his family's sake. One night, as John was tucking Sophie into bed, she looked up at him with wide, tear-filled eyes. "Daddy, is Mommy going to get better?" John's heart shattered at the question. He took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice steady. "We're doing everything we can to help Mommy get better, sweetheart." Sophie hugged her teddy bear tightly. "I'm scared, Daddy." John pulled her into his arms, holding her close. "I know, sweetheart. I'm scared too. But we have to be strong for Mommy. She needs us." After Sophie fell asleep, John went to sit by Lily's side. She was awake, her eyes filled with pain and fatigue. "How's Sophie?" she asked weakly. "She's scared," John admitted, his voice breaking. "We're all scared." Lily reached out to touch his hand. "You're doing an amazing job, John. I don't know what we'd do without you." John couldn't hold back his tears any longer. He buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking with sobs. "I don't know how much longer I can do this, Lily. I'm so scared of losing you." Lily's eyes filled with tears as well. "I'm scared too, John, but we have to take it one day at a time. We have to stay strong for Sophie." Chapter 3: The Farewell. One quiet evening, John sat by Lily's bedside, holding her hand. Her breathing was shallow, her skin pale and cool to the touch. He knew the end was near, but he couldn't bring himself to accept it. He leaned in close, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Lily, I don't know how to say goodbye," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I don't know how to do this without you." Lily's eyes fluttered open, a weak smile forming on her lips. "You've always been so strong, John. You'll find a way. Just promise me you'll take care of Sophie. She needs you more than ever." "I promise, Lily," John choked out, his heart breaking. "I'll take care of her. I'll make sure she knows how much you loved her." Lily's eyes filled with tears as she squeezed his hand. "Thank you, John. I love you so much." "I love you too, Lily. More than words can say," John whispered, leaning in to kiss her one last time. The room was filled with a heavy silence. The only sound was Lily's labored breathing. As the night wore on, Lily's breathing grew fainter. John stayed by her side, holding her hand and whispering words of love and comfort. When the first light of dawn broke through the window, Lily took her final breath. John's heart shattered as he felt the life slip from her body. Chapter 4: The Aftermath. The days following Lily's death were a blur of grief and sorrow. John went through the motions, arranging the funeral and comforting Sophie, who was devastated by the loss of her mother. He tried to stay strong, but the weight of his own grief was overwhelming. One evening, after putting Sophie to bed, John sat alone in the living room, staring at a photo of Lily. The pain of her absence was unbearable. He felt lost, adrift in a sea of sorrow with no anchor to hold on to. The house felt empty without her laughter and warmth. "Why did you have to leave us, Lily?" he whispered, his voice breaking. "I don't know how to do this without you." As the months went by, John struggled to find a new normal. He poured all his energy into taking care of Sophie, trying to fill the void left by Lily's death. But the pain never went away. It was a constant ache, a reminder of all he had lost. Sophie began to withdraw, her once cheerful demeanor replaced by a quiet sadness. She stopped drawing, her colorful crayons gathering dust. John felt helpless, unable to reach his daughter through his own grief. Chapter 5: The Decision. One night, as John sat alone in the darkness, the weight of his grief became too much to bear. He felt trapped in a world without hope, unable to see a way forward. The thought of continuing without Lily was unbearable. He stood up, walking to the bedroom where Sophie slept. He kissed her forehead, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I love you so much." John wrote a letter, pouring out his heart and his pain. He explained how much he loved Sophie, how much he missed Lily, and how he couldn't go on without her. He hoped that someday Sophie would understand. With the letter finished, John walked to the garage, his heart heavy with sorrow. He started the car, letting the exhaust fumes fill the enclosed space. As the darkness closed in, he whispered, "I'm coming, Lily." Chapter 6: The Final Goodbye. John's death was a shock to the community. Friends and family rallied around Sophie, trying to provide her with the support and love she needed. The loss of both parents left her heartbroken, struggling to understand why her father had left her too. At the funeral, Sophie clung to her teddy bear, tears streaming down her face. She felt lost and alone, the weight of her grief crushing her small frame. As she looked at the casket, she whispered, "Goodbye, Daddy. I love you." The community mourned the loss of John and Lily, their tragic story a stark reminder of the fragility of life. Sophie was taken in by her grandparents, who did their best to provide her with a loving home. But the scars of her parents' deaths would always be with her, a painful reminder of the love she had lost. As the years passed, Sophie grew up, carrying the memory of her parents with her. She found strength in their love, using it to guide her through the darkest times. Though the pain of their loss never fully faded, she learned to live with it, honoring their memory by living a life filled with love and compassion. The story of John and Lily became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the devastating impact of grief and the importance of seeking help in times of sorrow. Their love for each other and for Sophie was undeniable, but in the end, it wasn't enough to save them from the darkness that consumed them. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, please share this podcast with your friends and rate it on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to visit my website at www.tonyc.info for more content, updates, and exclusive behind-the-scenes insights. This podcast is mainly supported by listeners like you. If you want to help keep the stories coming, consider supporting me on Patreon at www.patreon.com/JTAC. Even just $1 a month makes a huge difference and helps me continue to create the content you love. Thank you again for listening. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, stay safe and keep exploring the unknown.